All right, welcome to another electrifying episode of Java Jargon with Avalon Technologies, where code meets conversation and innovation takes center stage. I'm your host, Dan Gribble, and today we're diving deep into the future of smart buildings, data-driven infrastructure, and the tech that's reshaping the spaces we live and work in today. Joining us is a true trailblazer in technology, Mr. Bill Popp, the CEO of Resolute Building Intelligence. Bill's team is turning buildings into living, learning ecosystems. And with over 30 plus years of experience in technology industry, he's here to share how it all works, why it matters, and what's coming next. So grab your coffee, fire up your IDE, and get ready to decode the blueprint of tomorrow's built environment. This is Java Jargon, and today we're getting resolute. Bill, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to pass things off to Todd, who is our president at Avalon Technologies, to get things kicked off here with some topics, and looking forward to the discussion we have today.
Dan, thank you so much for inviting me.
Absolutely.
We're pretty excited to have you, Bill, to be honest. This is phenomenal. You're a legend, I tell you what. So Bill, you are a legend, but for those of the listeners that don't know, give them a little bit about your background and how'd you get into the industry around technology?
Sure. I started when the personal computer kind of first came out. For those who are as old as me, IBM PC XT80, when we had a hard drive that was not a hard drive, it was a floppy drive. So started then. I love technology. Little known fact, I never went to college, really learned how to be a maintenance, turn the screwdriver type guy for a long time, and then looked at all the salespeople that were making all the money. And so I jumped into the sales side and really got my first break. If you look at it, for those who recall some of the past startups and great companies, Lotus Development, who created Lotus Notes and Lotus 123. And then went to Novell and spent a lot of time at Novell, and then ended up at Dell for 25 phenomenal years with all you guys, and had a great experience, wonderful experience there. So that's been a little bit about my career, from a high-tech standpoint, and really it's been all technology for me.
Absolutely. Well, obviously we know you're with Resolute, but for listeners who are really unfamiliar with Resolute, can you describe what that company does and what are the problems that you guys are really solving?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so Resolute formed back in 2015. We're a startup. We still consider ourselves a startup. We're a SaaS application, and what we do is we grab data. So every building has thermostats, boilers, air conditioners, whatever it might be. The data is produced in that building, okay, from all those devices and stuff like that. We have a unique patented system that grabs that data, maps it, and then allows us to really kind of slice and dice data inside of a building and give intelligent response, machine learning responses back to the facilities people, back to the IT people, so they can see if they have leakage in certain areas with, heating and cooling is obviously one of the bigger ones. And also we get into like saving power and power, savings, EWR, energy waste reduction is the big buzzword in the building industry. But it's really, it's interesting. All buildings are smart, even if they're old. It is all about grabbing the data from the building. That's what Resolute does very well. We run on AWS. We have a direct to customer type product, and we also have a indirect, which is our channel partner type programs that we sell to with customers and stuff like that.
So Bill, I'm going to ask you a leadership question, if you don't mind. Looking back, what's one lesson you learned in your career that still influences how you lead today?
Yeah, good question, Rob. So I think the biggest thing about leadership, there's a couple facets. One is, you have to have the roadmap and the blueprint for where you want to take the team and the business. And then I always look at being, you have to be the servant to the people, meaning you really got to be day to day with your team, and it's no longer about you, it's about them. Those are the two big things for me that has been it's worked really well. And there's no greater thing in life to see when people like Todd do better than me, and other people get promoted and do well, because first of all, it's a great feeling to see people improve and get better in their life. And the second thing is it increases your network. My network is gigantic because I've worked with a lot of great people, and they've gone on to be better and do better things than what they did at Dell or Lotus or Novell. It's a great reward for me. So it's a very, very rewarding thing when you can develop a good methodology. I've been blessed. One of the things we learned at some of our Dell legacy is don't always be the smartest one in the room, right? So have other people that are smarter than you. That builds a great leadership thing. So I look for people to answer and solve a lot of the problems for going forward.
That makes a lot of sense. And, you know, certainly, Bill, I think Resolute, having you as a leader is certainly a differentiator. How else does Resolute differentiate themselves in the technology industry? And how do you guys go about solving your customers' biggest problems?
Yeah, so it's an interesting opportunity. First of all, you know, I've known Pete Carmanos, who is our founder, who many people on this podcast remember that name. He founded CompuWare, built CompuWare up here in Detroit, actually nationally and globally, and then you know, sold the company. I think it was back in 2011 or 2012. He also owned the Carolina Hurricanes hockey team, which we're a big hockey family with CompuWare still active, and the CompuWare hockey program still active and moving forward. You know, I look at it, Pete had a vision back then around solving energy, you know, EWR, as I referenced earlier. So he, you know, along with a bunch of other developers, you know, really developed a piece of software, a piece of code that was an analytic engine, kind of like on the forefront of AI. So we're very active on AI, and I know we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but it was more around using machine learning to determine how do we, you know, develop into a building. That machine learning engine developed back in 2015 is actually still holds ground in today's industry. So the engine itself, the machine learning piece, continues to flourish. Okay, what's changed is the front end and the back end. Front end being, you know, trying to like look at data reporting, AI type stuff, how to present the data and the findings. And then, you know, the real true back end is how do you connect all those little devices, those sensors and stuff like that, and grab the data. Obviously, that changes too. We saw when we first incorporated our company, VPN was a big thing. Now VPN is no longer the big thing. Customers are moving away from VPN. They can use, you know, Avalon and company to kind of like go address those issues. So that infrastructure piece, we play a big role in it. We don't sell the infrastructure pieces. All we want to do is sell the connection to grab the data. Probably the biggest thing that excites me is we're probably the only player in the marketplace that strictly deals in analytics, AI, and we do not want to have command and control, and we don't want to do last mile. So command and control would be, I find a problem with a boiler, and then I want to go change it. We don't do that. We give that information to the facilities team or the IT team for them to go to change it, or a partner such as you guys to go change it. And then the last mile piece would be, let's say it's a hardware problem. We're not going to go out and do break fix or anything like that. So, and we work with everybody. So from an analytics machine learning standpoint, I don't care who you are, Honeywell, JCI, Train, I can name 16 of them. We work with everybody. So we touch data across the board. Pretty unique in that standpoint.
Well, that's a perfect segue. I mean, you really touched on what we wanted to get into here. So, you know, AI and IoT are transforming industries. I mean, how are those technologies being integrated into what Resolute does, and what do you see for it in the future?
So there's a couple areas on AI that I think are very important, not only to Resolute, but like to the industry. First of all, there's opportunities, you know, think about AI, well, we had the PC revolution, which I grew up in. I was a pretty young guy with dark hair. That revolution went into the internet revolution, which I think you guys are probably entered the market at that point. So tying the internet in there, and then what tied in from the internet, we start connecting PCs. We created data on the PCs, we connected the internet, and then we went into cloud. Okay, so then cloud took over and big data centers, AWS, and we tied everything up there. And then the final piece now is we're all living is the AI piece. So where I think things are going to get interesting is, so let's just reference a building. Building produces data. We already established that. So the question is, in a building, do you want it to be private or public data? Okay, so do we want the boiler to push off information around privatizing the data so that only the XYZ Corp can see the data and the facilities team can do machine learning around that, or AI interpretation? Or do we want to open it up into the marketplace and stuff like that? One of the challenges we have is we have data on every type of device in all of our customers' environments since 2017. Can you monetize that data to the marketplace, to the OEMs, in order to kind of go use that? So I look at data this way. Our customers are going to want more access. If you're a SaaS-based application, they want a couple things. They want AI front end, okay, which is cool. So meaning the way you present data to the end user on the application changes. The second thing is API development on the back end. So where this is important for your customers and what you guys do is, I'm gonna create API models that takes the data, instead of storing on an AWS and sticking in a data lake that you're gonna produce for your customer or sell to your customer, and I'm gonna dump that data into their data lake. And it usually, when we start presenting this type of stuff to customers, they get it, okay? Some customers don't want to be in the data lake business. That's fine, we'll do it for them, or you guys will do it for them. But we just want to open up our data so that any type of data lake or their internal API sets can all use it. And I think that's critical for us. The last thing on AI, I could tell you this. So there's a shortage of people in our energy, that are energy managers in our marketplace. To take a young person and say, hey, you're in college, they're usually not going for facilities management degrees. Okay, so
Right.
So we're going to be launching some products in the spring around we call it EdBot. So ed.bot, and basically it's taking the human aspect of an energy manager and putting it into a bot and letting it learn inside the building itself, inside the four walls, and determining things a little bit closer to home for a customer. So think about this. If I can teach EdBot everything that, let's say, Bill Popp was doing as an energy manager, and it continues to learn, it continues to grow, that's a pretty powerful story. Nobody's really done that in our marketplace. So it's literally taking our great energy managers, taking their knowledge base, getting the machine to learn, and then keep on building machines. So I am extremely excited about that. And if you think about it in theory, most of your customers or most of your partners that are going to listen to this podcast can do the same thing. AI is going to become a process tool that we've never seen before in the marketplace. And I'm pretty excited that you see all the growth with all the infrastructures, our old company, Dell, AMD, NVIDIA, all those guys, they're seeing this just gigantic infrastructure play. You guys are seeing it. You guys are doing great about that. I think the whole process piece, the whole service around AI is going to be a gigantic boom like we haven't seen before. So yeah, there could be some jobs lost, but there going to be a lot more jobs gained down the road.
Well said. I mean, that's very insightful. You covered a lot there. I appreciate it. I love that. I'm going to shift gears a little bit. So going back to the leadership, because look, I'll say it right now. I learned so much from you underneath your tutelage. I share stories all the time. I reflect on what would Bill do. And I really do. I'm not just saying that, but you've held these leadership roles all over the industry as an executive, as a GM. I mean, what's your philosophy on leading and building teams? Because leading's one thing, but knowing the right people to build them with is a whole nother.
Right. So, I said earlier, don't be the smartest one in the room. Okay. That to me is like, I'm at 50,000 feet. That is like the most critical thing, is like building people around that philosophy. For me, I learned, Todd, I appreciate all those wonderful comments. I learned that from Michael. Don't be the smartest guy in the room. That was like the mantra at the executive level, and you have to develop the team. One of the other things I think a lot of people get lost about in the situation is you can't, don't be the hero. Okay. So it's very, very important. And at the beginning of my leadership career, I was really bad at this, was listening and letting people talk. And matter of fact, I spent a lot of time trying to develop skills around listening. I still do a horrible job at it, so I'm not there yet. My wife reminds me of that all the time. But I think, I think some of the great leaders that I've worked with, the Michael Dells, Ray Nordas, Jim Manzies, Joe Maringi, Pete Carmanos, they all listen really, really good. And I think a lot of people, even in life, we don't put enough emphasis on that. We need to, if you're the leader, you need to let people talk. Usually usually people can solve the problems ahead of time. And I did get better as a listener as I grew older and more mature within the organization. So it's very important, I think, for people getting in this industry, and especially this generation now, is be great listeners. You can talk when you get home, but let people go at it. And you've got to develop people. You got to develop that winning attitude. It's not with you, it's with the team. Yeah. When people win, you got to celebrate, okay? And you got to make them feel great. You're all in. But there's a lot of books, a lot of theories. My theory is don't be the smartest one in the room, and try to be the best listener as possible. And if you care about people like you care about your children or your family, they're going to respond to you. And I think that's a key thing too, is just having that, personal connection with your teammates and stuff like that. And I've been blessed. It's my network. I rely upon all the people I still work with at Dell, and everyone's still friends. It's a beautiful thing. So
it is. Well, I hope the listeners took that all in, because that was priceless information. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So Bill, I have a CEO question for you. So how do you balance staying connected on the technology part of the job, and then while also driving business strategy and growth from the company level? So how do you balance that?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So I'm learning that a little bit more as I go along. It's interesting. And I know Todd in his leadership roles at Dell, he could, we'd snap our fingers and we would have a lot of resources around us being able to go execute to what we wanted to.
Absolutely.
I'm sure at Resolute, you think about this, we have 28 people, and so it's pretty small. I wear a lot of hats, and I didn't think, like when I was at Dell, I didn't see this problem. Now I'm here, and it's a good problem, because I do have to be the engineer, the sales guy, the CEO, and everything. And somehow I got to learn about the industry, because there's a lot of specific facility stuff that's outside of my, bailiwick of IT, right? So like you guys, I understand IT very well, but a sensor on a boiler is not my fish, right? Or, the air conditioner, or, something going on. One of the big things we're doing right now is try to connect the actual ice making equipment for an ice rink into our software, so we see how temperature control does that. Yeah. But the key thing for Rob, for me, is relying upon in my case 2 or 3 really good people technology wise, and then really going out into the market. I love LinkedIn, but sometimes I don't, but just really learning what goes on in our industry, and always looking at the competition. So one of the things, going back to Todd's question around leadership, one of the things as a company and as a leader, getting feedback and acting on feedback as a company and as a leader is critical. I think that you have to be able to have feedback mechanisms. There's times where I'll throw something against the wall, and you guys understand this, and I think the listeners will understand this. Hey, I'm going to throw an idea against the wall, and damn it, if it sticks, I'm happy. I'm going to run with it. If it doesn't stick, I'm not going to dwell upon it, and I'm going to move to something else. Well, that's what Michael used to teach us, right? Hey, try something. I'm not going to fire you if it doesn't work, but just don't do it twice, right? Oh, it's the same mistake twice.
Yeah.
So as a CEO, it's like, especially where I'm at now, where it's very small and our interaction is very quick. Hey, I'm going to try something. If it doesn't work, no harm, no foul. We move on to the next thing. Always great to have a strategy and a mapping strategy, but it's difficult. In learning the industry is the hardest aspect for me right now, just because I've never been in HVAC or, steam or water or electric power, but more, my God, the power situation in our country for you guys around data centers is gigantic. Okay. So, more to come on that, but that'd be an interesting topic for you guys to pursue. I see, since I'm in the power industry, the having of on-site power creation is a really, really unique opportunity. There's some companies that are really getting into it. So think about this, 250% increase in our electric bills over the last 5 years for a company. Electricity is going up, the grid's 40 years old or greater. And now you're seeing hospitals and municipalities, everyone started saying, hey, can we create power on-prem to power all our data centers and stuff like that? That technology fits right into what you guys are doing, what we're doing, and it's a big thing in the marketplace. So, great opportunities there. That's the CEO thing about learning about what's going on in the marketplace. You got to stay up to speed on that stuff.
Well, I'm just to piggyback off that, what interests me is all the research that's going on with modular nuclear reactors. And I know this is a whole different realm, but it's come so far from where it was, say 20 years ago, but it's the legislature that's the most difficult thing to get through. I think they just went live with one in the Northwest, which is a test bed for it, but that could be the future, right? Clean energy.
Right. I see there's so many possibilities in power consumption. For us, it's great for us because we want to save people money on power.
Yeah.
Okay. But yet the grid is dangerously old and inefficient. And you're putting GPUs everywhere. You're building data centers everywhere. So it's great infrastructure business for you guys and stuff like that. But eventually the way you plug stuff in and get power is going to change. And so we have to be ready. You guys got to be ready to meet that, to understand that market so that you can help your customers kind of get there and stuff like that.
It's an interesting plug that you bring up, the energy piece, Bill. I mean, later on in the next couple episodes or so, we're going to have someone on that is from the energy industry to talk a little bit more about some of that stuff. So appreciate you bringing that up. I think it's certainly a good talking point for Avalon to share information with our customers. Obviously there's been a lot of discussion around your experience within the industry and, understanding a little bit more the lay of the land from, a technology perspective. But outside of work, what really helps you stay creative, understanding what inspires you or, what makes you curious?
Well, what makes me curious, that's Michael Dell's line, stay curious, right?
Exactly, right?
Yeah, it's the greatest line. I love technology. I've lived through 4 decades. Michael just came out with a publication around the 4 decades, PC, internet, cloud, and now AI. And there's going to be a 5th, come in, and there'll be a 6th and 7th. So technology world to me is gigantic. And I think there's so much advancement, and it's happening rapidly now. And even someone that is, over 60, I still play a big part of my life is still around technology and learning. I can bring you some examples where it's life changing, and it makes me more efficient as a human. One of my passions, like Todd's, is being out in the woods, right? I like to hunt and stuff like that. One of the challenges I had was, a very remote place in Michigan, and no power, no nothing. Like no, I couldn't. My cell phone doesn't work. So having solar power, getting back to the power discussion, it makes me curious. The other thing that made me really curious, which really saved me, was Starlink and Elon's product. Just absolutely the fact that I can have this old rustic cabin out in the middle of 3,000 state-owned acres and stick a little little dish 2x3 on my little table. It's amazing, and I have full access to everything. I can work, I can play. Think about that 10 years ago. We would never think of that, right? So that makes me curious. The number one thing that for me that means everything to me is the fact that family is everything to me. And so I would suggest, and I would just keep, everyone wants to make they have the big job, do the big thing. Don't ever give up any of your family time for anybody, including your current employer. I've actually been blessed. I'm working, my son works at Resolute, and it's kind of a unique situation where, that was kind of like the thing for me, was making sure, he sees stuff differently than just going and taking a sales job somewhere. And it's been a great experience, a life-changing experience for both of us. So I kind of, I feel like you got to be, if you're good at home, you'll be good at work, okay? And I think that is critical. The other thing is, as you grow older and, you're getting closer to retirement, do not retire the mind. Keep the mind going. Keep, to your point, Dan, curiosity is critical. And, I look at Pete, and I believe Pete is 82 going on 83, and his mind is he is smart as a whistle. He might not move as fast, but let me tell you, I can't pull anything on the guy. He is phenomenal. And his knowledge and wisdom is off the charts. So remember, don't be the smartest one in the room. Listen and make sure you get your family in front of you, and you'll be successful. Everyone on this podcast will be successful in everything we do. But that's where I'm at. My next step is to see, one day, Antonio expands the family and gets married and has grandkids. That would be phenomenal for me. So
there you go.
Get a couple deer hunters.
There you go.
So.
Yeah, and I'll reinforce, Bill practices what he preaches, being able to have the opportunity to work directly from him. I had some family times that were very difficult times in my life, and Bill said you do what you need to do to take care of your family. That's what's important, and that's what happens. So all the support you've given, and I'm just one small example. I know you've had those private conversations with teammates over the year where they lose a loved one, they have a sick child, they have family emergencies, and all I've ever heard is you're there to support them. And you know what? That's why everyone's been so dedicated and loyal to your organization.
Yeah,
it says a lot.
Look, we're here. We need to make an impact in this world.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned from Michael, Tom Sweet, Jeff Clark. When I was 39, had colon cancer. Company rallied around me. That was a long time ago, 23 years ago or so. And then about 3 years ago, I had a little slight heart attack. And once again, people rallied, and you remember that, and you're loyal to the team and all the people. I mean, money is money, but you can't. It's not going to buy you happiness and stuff. So as execs, technology people, you gotta have balance. Work-life balance is the best. You gotta have it. You gotta have something to throw the office away for 24 hours and go do something with the kids, with your parents, with your nephews and nieces, whoever. So it's a great opportunity to just ground yourself in some of this stuff.
All right, so lots of warm and fuzzies here, all great information. We're gonna put you on the spot a little bit on this one. So, feel free to share any stories you want to share, and feel comfortable talking about. But what's the hardest leadership lesson you've learned, and what did it teach you?
Yeah, that's a good one. I definitely had a hard time on feedback. So if I know the audience is broader than Dell people, and your customers might be, but if you remember the old days of Tell Dell, and getting feedback about you as a leader and as a human, as a person, that was telling to me. And I didn't realize even the simplest thing on feedback was I'm a pretty big guy, is the way I conducted myself in a room, and how I looked, how I dressed. If you're a leader, we talked about this earlier, understand you wake up in the morning, everyone is your team is all looking at you. And if you're dressed sloppy, they're going to dress sloppy. If you're not with your A game, they're not going to be with their A game. So when I had those, it's one thing to be very passionate and go after things, but if you're over the top in certain categories, it's not gonna be good. So me getting feedback, although it was a very difficult moment, this was about 15 years ago, it made me a way better executive. And I spent several weeks training, getting feedback, taking, just different type of classes around this to try to be a better leader. A lot of it still sticks with me, and I still have the material that we came up with. But be cognizant of when you walk in the room, what people think and see. And I got a good dose of reality from my team back then, what they saw and stuff like that. So be open to feedback. That's my big thing. Got to be open to feedback.
That's phenomenal. I mean, you're bigger than life, not just the personality, but physically when you walk in a room. So I'm sure I can tell you, being in some of those meetings with you walking in, not looking happy, can be very, very intimidating.
Or the way I use my voice, or the way it got detailed. The way I sat on a chair, it was an observation, elite thing. Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm big, and I could intimidate people pretty quickly, especially people that are smaller and stuff like that. I mean, I'm a big guy. You can interpret the other way. The other thing is, hey, yelling and screaming doesn't accomplish anything. Back in the heyday, people yelled a lot. I yelled a lot. That was wrong. I look at today, it's not that you can go from, you do a 180, but like, there's times where you have to, show some passion, and passion is good within moderation though. So I learned hard lessons around that, and they stick with me. I don't get spun up like I used to, but we still have difficult, direct conversations. So it's just a little bit different.
I appreciate you digging in and sharing that. That's really good feedback, especially for younger leaders that are developing.
Anybody, like, listen, if you're the AE on General Motors working for you, and you give feedback, and giving feedback as a leader is the hardest thing to do. So for me to give feedback to Todd at the time, it's a hard thing to do, because if you basically say, Todd, you're the greatest in the world, and you say that 10 years in a row, you need to make them better. And how do you make people better? Giving them feedback on where they have some opportunity to improve and stuff like that. But feedback is critical, two-way and stuff like that. So.
Well, I tell you what, our team has no problem providing me with feedback, so that's good news. They are making me better every day, every minute.
Do great. That's great. That's good.
All right. Well, Bill, I think we have one more question for you. Where can listeners learn more about Resolute Building Intelligence and follow your guys' journey?
Well, ResoluteBI.com. You can hit the website and take a look at it. And, we got a lot of good stories out there, a lot of good case studies. And you can get a hold of me through that or Bill Popp at ResoluteBI.com. You can get a hold of me there too. But we've got a lot of good material out there. And remember, every building's smart, no matter how old or young. It's interesting. New construction, new buildings going in, we keep all your contractors very honest because data doesn't lie. So like just real quick example would be, and we've all seen this, we install a brand new house, you install a brand new thermostat, and if the set point's not properly calibrated, you could be seeing I'm at 72 and it only goes up to 70 or 69. Same thing in a commercial building. So data doesn't lie. The interpretation of data can be sometimes different, but we got some great stories on that piece on buildings and stuff. So, hit the website and, I appreciate you guys inviting me. It's great to see everyone's face, even though we're not going to, yeah.
You're a national treasure. We're very fortunate that you took the time to do this and just share everything that you I mean, there's so much we cover. We could literally take 4 hours talking to you, but you're very busy. You have a lot going on, so we appreciate the time you shared with us.
Yeah. Thanks guys. Best of luck. Anything I could do for everyone in the podcast or any of your customers around buildings, just let me know and I'm there to help out.
We will get them to you, Bill. Thank you very much. You have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Thanks, Bill.
Take care. Good seeing you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.